GM everyone. I'm Wilfred Okori. I'm a Starknet Cairo developer. I write both smart contracts and I integrate front-ends with Starknet smart contracts. So I'm here today to introduce you to the Cairo Coder MCP, which is one of the latest developments in the Starknet ecosystem. Okay, first of all, for many of us that might not know what an MCP is, an MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, right? An MCP is a standard, it's a protocol, it's a new standard used for AI applications to communicate with LLMs in order to give them more context to be more specific with their tasks. What do I mean? For example, you want your whatever AI, using be it ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude, you want it to write Cairo code for you most times. For instance, most of these LLMs think Cairo is Rust, and they tend to implement Rust-specific things for Cairo developers. Trust me, I've tried telling them to write Cairo too. But what the model context protocol does for us is that we can communicate with an AI that is specifically designed. We can communicate with an LLM that is specifically designed for that purpose. In this case, the Cairo coder. We can communicate with the Cairo coder to reinforce your other AI that you're using, be it Claude, be it your ID specific agents, or whatever. Under the hood, what happens is that when you send your Claude a message or your ChatGPT a message from your query, and let's say the Cairo Coder MCP is activated, right? From your query, what it's going to do is that it's going to read and understand your query. Then from what you send to it, it's now going to make a request to the Cairo coder. And when it receives a response, from the response, it's now going to do its own processing before it returns it to you, and you have your Cairo smart contract. This makes it much more accurate than it would have been without the context. Under the hood, the Cairo coder is implemented using retrieval augmented generation. It's a concept. It's also a concept in expert systems and AIs. What happens is that the Cairo coder is providing resources like Cairo book, Starknet book, tab documentation. It's providing Starknet Foundry as well. It's providing all of these things to give it context, so for it to know and understand how to write Cairo smart contracts. Then, when you communicate with it using the MCP server, while an MCP server is a minimal server that defines how you communicate with this Cairo coder. So that's just the basics. Under the hood, you are making a request to a server. That's what happens. So let's take a look at this is the Cairo coder documentation. You can use in a few clicks. First step, access the dashboard, get your API key, store it safely. And then this is the basic way to interact with it. What you're saying right here is this is using call to send a request, and this is the API. We can use TypeScript, you can use Python, you can use Rust. What you're just doing is under the hood, the basic is that you're making an API call. That's it. So you come to the dashboard. I already opened everything here. You come to the dashboard, you see a button here to generate your own API key. When you generate your API key, then you can make your request how you want. So this Cairo coder, before I go into the demo, I'm going to highlight some benefits of this Cairo coder. For example, there are people, they might even be non-developers, but they just understand technical aspect of Web3 or even programming, and say they want to implement something in Cairo, but because they don't know the language, it has been a barrier to them. With Cairo coder now, if they understand what they want to implement very well, and they adequately prompt they adequately prompt whatever AI application they are using, this Cairo coder is going to generate a good enough smart contract for them to use for whatever application they have. That is what the Cairo coder does. Whether it can work for non-developers, it can work for people that write Rust already or write Solidity that want to come and implement something in Starknet. The language is no longer a barrier to them. They can come and use Cairo coder to do whatever they want to do. Since they've implemented smart contracts before, they can just come and use their context. I mean, developers have a sixth sense. You just have to admit. So whatever language they use, they somehow understand it. So when you use Cairo coder is going to simplify most of the process for you. Even for seasoned developers, there are sometimes you don't really want to implement some things or you don't really have time. Cairo coder can improve your workflow by 1000%. I've explored Cairo coder. I've used it in different cases. So I'm just going to highlight the three basic ways to use the Cairo coder, right? So the first way that I explored is just calling the API normally, just like this, like what you are seeing here. This is using TypeScript, this is using Python, this is using Rust. But in this video, what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using what's it called? Postman. Yes. So if you want to try it, if you want to follow along, all you need to do is come here, copy this, copy the copy this URL you're seeing here. It's not a URL. Let's call it a URL. Come to your Postman, paste it here. Make sure it's a push request you're making. In the headers, put your API key, put this key, this value, then context type application.json, then come to the body and make your request. Make sure your request rhymes with this format you are seeing here. Messages inside the messages array, one item, your row, and the contents. That is exactly what I have done here. Messages inside one object, my row, and the content. I just told you to write a smart contract that represents a bookstore, which is what we're going to be implementing, by the way, with the functions add book and get book. I mean, we're going to be using more functions than this real time, but let's just make the request to the API. So I'm going to send. He's making the request, so you just hold on for a while. And this is your response. It comes to an object. When you receive it with normal, because I write JavaScript, so this is the kind of thing when I receive with JavaScript, I get the actual content I need. If I need to, you can try it as a developer. I know I tried it. I serialized this particular response and got a good smart contract out of it. All I did was I took note of the new lines, the comments it made, and everything. This is a full smart contract. You can see it here. This is an add book function that is defined here. So this is the first way that I like to use the Cairo Coder. The second way is if you come over here, you'll see that you can also use the Cairo Coder as an MCP. You can decide to use it with your ID, which is the third thing we're going to be doing. But you can also use it as an MCP. You can deploy your Coder you can deploy your Coder, but that's not what we're going to be doing in this video. Let's look at using Cairo Coder as an MCP. You can do this if you want, or this is the way I like to do it, right? You use your Cairo Coder API key. So I'm just going to do this, you need to have Claude for desktop installed. So I'm just going to open Claude, and here you have your set and tools. You have different things you can implement in Claude. When you come to this set and tools, this search menu, you start web search is on. If you look at this page, this says weather, get forecast. What this thing is, it means that an MCP is available here. I've previously implemented a weather MCP, so it can tell you what the weather is wherever in the world. But I think the API mostly is based on United States, but that one is away from home. This is the tool, get forecast. So it can get the forecast of any place, let's say in the US, to be safe. So if you want to add the Cairo Coder MCP to this, what you are going to do is you come to here, go to settings, and go to developer settings. The weather MCP is already here. So just edit config. Open your cloud config, cloud desktop config. Right. And then you can see here, there's already MCP servers. I've implemented one before, and it's the weather MCP server. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at this. We don't need to copy the whole thing. We just need this from this Cairo Coder to where it ends, which is here. I'm just going to copy it. I'll come here, I'll paste it. Mm. Mhm. So yes, this is what I'm going to do. Oh, sorry, I sort of have OCD with the space. Exactly. So this is where you put your API key. Let me just copy my API key from here. Please don't copy my API key. I'll paste it here. Then I'm going to save it and close. When I close it, I'm okay. I'll also close Claude. It will not be implemented immediately. I'm going to have to restart Claude. And it's not an ordinary restart. Just go to your task manager. I use Control Shift Escape. It's going to open my task manager. And I'm going to end this task. I'm going to scroll over to this place. and end this task. It has ended now. It's no longer here. So when I open Claude again, check the tools, you can see that the Cairo Coder MCP should be available now. Okay, that's weird. Mm, So this is the Claude over here, and when we check, we have the Cairo Coder implemented here, and the tool is called Assist with Cairo. So we can give it a prompt like write a simple bookstore smart contract that implements add book and get book function. We can give it this, but the issue with this is that I don't use Claude Premium, right? And since I don't use Claude Premium, the response is going to be too long and it's eventually going to panic. So, of course, you can see free plan here. So, this is for those of us that use Claude Premium that might come across this video that want to use Cairo Coder. This is a method that you can definitely use. It's using the assist with Cairo. This is the request, your query. Okay. I actually didn't give it all these ones, but because I'm using the Cairo Coder, pads my it parts my request and it creates a smart contract. But it's eventually going to panic because of the message layer. Oh, it's not panicking this time. Oh wow. That was actually very nice. Oh wow. Oh wow. It uses as Cairo. Wow. Wow. So this is another way to use Cairo Coder. Nice. I'm very happy with this. Nice, nice, nice. And the third and most common way that we are going to look at is using it with your ID. So I use WSL. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to go into that folder in my VS Code, and then we'll continue from there. So I've opened my VS Code, right? What I'm going to do is, what we are going to do is basically the same thing we did with Claude. The only difference is that this time we are using the copilots, which can act as an agent. So it's going to write directly into our files. That's the difference. So I'm going to go to settings. I'll go to settings here. I'm going to search for MCP, server sampling, MCP enabled. This is enabled, right? Let me see the server sampling. No, it's not okay. Since I've added the MCP to my Cloud desktop already, and edit in settings.json, you can either set it to true, which is the default value, or you set the MCPs that it should recognize, of which Cloud is among, right? So I'm just going to set it to this, and then I'm going to open a new folder here. I'll call it .vs code. Inside the VS Code, I'll create a new folder. I'll call it rules, and then I'll create a new file, cairocoder.mdc. Okay. Then what I need to do is go to the documentation. I always read documentations for everything. Don't mind. Remember everything. Don't be like me. So the same way it's used with cursor, I'll come here and copy the rules. I'll just copy it and paste. So I'm just going to paste this. I'll save. I'm going to open the sidebar and then I'll check what is enabled here. Let's see. This is not what I need. Sorry for that confusion. What happened is I don't configure my Copilot to work all the time. I just did it for the sake of this video. I prefer to use Claude to ask Claude questions and come and implement. So I've configured my Copilot, right? And since it's complete, and in these settings, I allowed it to read MCP servers from my Claude desktop. What happened is that it now has this as a, as a current file context, right? And it's in agent mode, which is perfect. I'm going to check the tools here which are implemented, and I'll scroll down. You can see MCP server for weather, Cairo Coder, and MCP server time, which is very beautiful. So, okay, I'm now going to, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my new project. So just scab init Starknet founded by default, created package. So the prompt I'm going to give it, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to copy what we've done using Claude because we still have to interact with the front end now. Yeah, this is So that's it. All I helped it to do is I helped to change the storage variables. For some reason, it did not get the storage variables. So I imported this instead. What it previously did is this what it previously did is it just imported all with the asterisks with this, and it's not done in Cairo. So I helped it with that. So I'm just going to build. Of course, in my opinion, it did very well. Now let's see. Complete. So I'm just going to deploy this contract now. So I already have a front end built for this. It's just a minimal front end, but I think it can show what we have done. It will just show that the contract written by the Cairo Coder is correct. So I've already added two books to the book to the factory here. This is where the wallet address shows the disconnect wallet. We don't really need that now, but we just add the title, add the author, add the price, and click on add book. Then when the transaction is verified, it add the book to this place here. I didn't do the full integration. I just did something minimal. It's just for demonstration, right? So let's add a book. Let's name this book The Basics of Blockchain. Author, name our author Cairo Coder, Cairo Coder MCP, and say our price is 100. Then we'll click on add book. Say it's interacting with the contract already, showing that yes, the contract is active. It sends the transaction. And while I did not implement the wait, if I had done it, would have seen a loading screen at this point. But just this is how the contract looks from Starknet. We can also interact with it from here, of course. These are the methods. These are the right methods. These are the read methods. This is it. So we have ABI here, endpoints by type. So this is what the explorers provide us, right? So yes, okay. Here we already have it. The basis of blockchain, Cairo Coder MCP price 100. So in summary, helps us. Cairo Coder MCP helps to simplify workflows even for experienced Cairo developers. It helps bridge the gap between learning and deployment, or between ideation and deployments for people that are not really experienced Cairo coders. It's one of the best tools for writing Cairo. In fact, it's the best tool for writing Cairo out there now. So I encourage you to try it, build at least a minimum contract. From there, I believe you are going to master how to prompt Cairo coder to get the best results. And have a nice one.